Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Check. What up, world? It's the man with the plan, Burt McGurk, aka PR, the King of Hearts, and you are now tuned into Clocking Out, the podcast you listen to when you need to get motivated and inspired to doing bigger and better things.
My name is Dominic Adams. Some people call me GT, Gentle Tornado. I'm a man on a mission to make positivity louder. And I created a foundation called the Hyped Foundation. So Hyped is an acronym that stands for happiness, inspiration, positivity, enthusiasm, and dreams. And there's a heartbeat in the middle of our logo because you never know how many heartbeats you have. And you could be here today and you might not be here tomorrow. And so we believe that every day is a gift. And if you live through Hyped or any of those words within Hyped, that it'll amplify your life in some way. And the Hyped Foundation is on mission to empower teens to thrive by nurturing emotional intelligence, fueling positivity, and inspiring growth, and really just fostering a culture around vulnerability and helping kids learn what emotional intelligence is. Not a lot of kids understand emotions. They don't understand their own emotions. They don't understand what even emotions are. And kids are very special. They just need a little bit of information to really thrive. And we're on mission to really help them in any way. And yeah, I guess that's a little bit about me.
And what inspired you to start this journey, or was it always this from the beginning, or did you start with something else and did you pivot into this, or what is it that inspired you to take this route and especially to focus on the youth?
Yeah, so I worked for my dad for 9 years. Kind of just giving back to him because he was a really good dad growing up, and I wanted to help him out, but I hated it every day. I hated the job. Also didn't love working with my dad. That was an interesting dynamic, but I just valued what he had given me in my life. So I did that. About like 6-7 years ago, I used to volunteer on a leadership course that changed my life. And it was a teenage mental health class. It's Teenage Leadership Breakthrough is what it's called. And in every single teenage class, there was a specific process called Cross the Line. So I would go with my best friend. We would both go and volunteer to be on team is what they call it, to just volunteer. And so in Cross the Line, everybody stands on one side of a rope. There's a rope in the middle of the classroom, and the teacher says, has anybody ever had sour Skittles? Everybody cross the line. Second thing is, has anybody ever done drugs? Maybe 50% of the class cross the line. And then the last question is, has anybody ever thought about committing suicide? And every single kid in every single class crossed that line. And so, including my best friend. Wow. So it was a really powerful experience for me because the amount of gratitude that I had to be the only person on the one side was really special. But then I instantly looked at all those kids and my best friend and just felt the sadness in my heart. And I just knew that it was really bad. I knew this was way worse than people even realized, because you would have never thought that these kids would have crossed that line. I definitely would have never thought my best friend would have crossed that line. And then COVID happened and it got way worse. So I have a pretty just natural gift from God to just get close to kids really fast because of how vulnerable I am. So I finally decided to really get after it and try to help kids and start the foundation, because there's a lot of talking about helping people with their mental health, but I don't think there's really good leadership in the world. So I kind of like to lead by example. And so I wanted to be able to start a foundation focused on vulnerability and helping kids and just helping them grow.
I really like that, man. And I agree with you. I think that, mental health is a big thing. I'm a person that struggled with that probably still to this day. I can't say that it's fully gone or cured or fixed or whatever it is that you would like to call it. I'm pretty sure it's something that a lot of us struggle with, in the sense of like dealing with it, especially with the way the world is now. Things are a lot worse compared to when we were a lot younger. And I feel like every day or every year things seem to accelerate as far as to how the younger kids are exposed to more crazier stuff growing up, and it's harder to either process or understand why it's happening, or why it's happening to them, or why it's happening to other people. And there's not enough, I don't know, programs or people in general just willing to talk about it openly to one another, or show that there's safe spaces like that you're trying to create that actually focus on this, giving people a platform or a place where they can actually openly discuss these things with other people who can understand, or have a different point of view where they've been there before, and they can kind of guide them or point them in the right way. So, that's something I really appreciate that you're taking the time and effort to do, because I do agree with you. That's something that we don't have enough of, especially for the kids. There's a lot going on. And I think people get caught up on what's happening in the world that we actually tend to forget. Not that we ignore or forget that we have kids, but we forget that they see what we see and what we're exposed to, also no different than anybody else in the world, especially with technology nowadays. Everyone has tabs or cell phones and TVs and stuff, so there's news everywhere, left and right, or people talking about it, or just random videos being posted, that it kind of starts getting people desensitized in the sense that they think certain things are okay. And it takes a lot of people to really stand up and really be like, no, that's not okay. It's not all right for you not to feel like you're in a place where you can talk about your feelings, or that you understand that your true value is worth more than people's words that they say just because they're upset. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is, what other besides for what you're doing right now, what do you think that there's what do you feel that other people can do to help change the narrative of what's going on, in the sense of, you're starting a foundation, but there are other people that look at it and go, oh, I can't do something that big. What's something that you feel anyone can do, regardless of their situation or where they are or who they are, that can actually help in a positive way?
Probably starts by leading by example. I mean, we have a huge parenting issue in our country and in the world that is just stemmed from selfishness, really. Um, there's a few different things I think that we have in society. We lack perspective, and these kids have no idea, what the real world's like. And, the 13 to 18-year-old mental health numbers are just crazy, and they're not good. But the 18 to 24 are, you don't even want to look at, because that's when kids get into the real world, and the real world's not nice. So we lack perspective because we don't want to educate these kids and tell them, like, hey, the world's going to be tough. You're going to face adversity. And that's where our, kind of our point with being proactive about emotional intelligence is, we believe that if we start earlier with these kids and with these people, that they'll at least have a backbone that they can fall on when they face adversity, because everybody faces adversity. That's the one thing that human beings have that's in common, is that we all face adversity. It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you're from a different country. And we just don't talk about that. Like, that's just something we don't talk about, because I guess it's not cool to be grateful. So I guess, like, practical things that people can do is lead by example, give kids perspective. Don't be afraid to call a kid out on his BS, suffocating excuses. Like, there's been several times where I've talked to kids before and they just want to complain about stuff. And I just kind of tell them, listen, like, 1 in 3 people in the world don't have clean water. So I get it. You might not like school, but people don't have clean water, and you have a house, and you have parents, and you have a school that you can go to, and you have friends. Like, some people don't have that. And so you got to start at the base level of gratitude, in our opinion, and kind of build from there. And it starts by really being vulnerable. I think people can be more vulnerable. And I think when parents are vulnerable, it's the most powerful thing they could give to their kid, is being real with them, and helping them through a situation. And doesn't make you weak as a parent if you're honest with them. Um, but I think really it's being grateful. We, in society today, it's super interesting because, like, friends, for example, don't want to call their other friends out. Like, let's say a friend is complaining or something, we lack the ability to say, like, hey, I get that you're having a tough time, but, like, I think you need to be more grateful. You really do have a good life. We're almost scared to tell people that. But I think it's the responsibility of the person that is grateful to be able to tell someone that, because you're not telling them that because you want to put them down. You're telling them that because you love them. If you have friends or family members that you consider that a friend or a family member, like, I love my friends and my family, so why wouldn't I want to tell someone that? Because it's just a gift. Every day is a gift that we get. And we just lost track of that because we live in such a fast-paced world. And I think one of the major things that we can just absolutely transform as a society is the fact that the world thinks that success leads to happiness, but it's just actually the other way around. Happiness leads to success. And not only is it just proof by living that way, living the happy life, but there's scientific studies that proves that happiness leads to success. And so we're in this, world where we think like you got to have a Lamborghini, you got to have all this stuff, you got to be a millionaire, you got to be an influencer, all this stuff. But what if you're crying in your Ferrari? Like that's not going to be fun. And sometimes kids just need to hear that. Like, hey, listen, I've been lucky enough to meet multiple millionaires in my life, and not one of them hasn't worked 120 hours a week their entire life. And when you tell a kid, like, or anyone of that, it doesn't have to be a kid, but when you tell anybody, like, hey, do you understand what 120 hours is a week, or 100 hours? Most people aren't even willing to work 80 hours a week, right? And so, just like little perspective shifts, but really, I think being less selfish, leading by example, being grateful, being willing to be vulnerable and help people and really care. I think those are the things that can really transform society.
I hear you, man. And what are some things that you feel like, as far as activities that people can do, not only with each other, but like especially as a parent with their kids? And I'm asking from the perspective as a parent myself, that you feel helps build not only the confidence in them, but in the relationship, I guess, that builds that trust, where people will feel that comfortability of going to them and expressing that there's something wrong, or that they're uncomfortable, or they're just not happy with what's happening, whether it's something personal, or that they just don't quite understand what's happening in the world. What are some things that you feel like can help build that, like bonding, I guess you can say, that you think would help?
Yeah, I think for a parent specifically, leading with love, like leading just from your heart. When you lead with love, it's really special, and you give your kid the undivided attention that they need. Like kids just need undivided attention. It doesn't matter what age they're at. And when you are willing to admit your faults, I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do as parents is, I have a 5.5-year-old, 3.5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And there's so many times where I maybe it's I get angry and I yell, or something happens, or I do something that I'm not supposed to do. As far as the example that I lead by, and I'll be like, listen, guys, I'm sorry. Like I made a mistake. And the positive response from them is huge. Like they love it. They understand that I can make mistakes too. I'm not just like this superhero that is preaching to them these things that they need to do in life. And I think really when you're communicating with kids, you want to get on their level. Like you want to be able to talk to them in the way that they understand, not only in a communication aspect, but also that they're just a normal human too. Obviously, there's different aspects of, discipline, and you are the leader of the house, but you also want to, help them grow and help them be there for them and walk with them and know that they have that safety net to come back to. And it's like, hey, even because I'm dad, that doesn't mean I'm better than you. And I still experience adversity as well, and I still fail, and am broken. And I just want to, help you through life. And I think there's a lot of, it's hard to do that. Like it's not easy, but I mean, humility, man, is everything, right? You're really showing your heart. And I mean, I've personally have been around so many kids, so many teens, especially, that like if you show them your heart, like they'll give you their heart right back. Like they want to be involved with someone that's not BSing. And like the thing is that kids know that. Like kids know kind of when we're full of it. Like if we were like lying or something to them. And that's where like the leading by example thing comes in I think is the most important, because like you can't teach a kid, for example, confidence. You have to do it. You have to lead them to that. You have to show them that by you doing that, by you being a confident person. It doesn't just happen, right? They have to see it, they have to be around it, they have to experience it. And by being vulnerable, you're allowing, your kids to see your heart. And so then they want to, present you their heart. I think those are probably a few ways, I think, to get on their level. Really, it just builds that bond.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that advice, because as a parent, I'm always trying to find ways, because it's like you would think it would be easy, like, yeah, I was a kid once, you know what I mean? But then, like, things are just so different now, and then the pace that they consume information is just totally different also as well. So like it's like you said, you want to speak to them at their level that they understand, and sometimes you kind of either overshoot or under, and like you talk to them in a way that they're looking at you like, look, I know what you're saying, like I get it, so it's kind of rough. And then if not, it's to the point where you think you're doing too much, and it gets like, it feels like it's annoying, and they're like, oh god, like, it's those things that as a parent I overthink about. But you always want to just let them know in any way that you can, like, listen, no matter what, you can come to me, I'm here, like,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is. And as a kid, when you heard your parents say that, you're like, yeah, okay. So whenever you got in trouble, you always like tried to hide it from them. But at the same time, it's like, now that you're older, you understand, like, okay, I get what they meant. But you also understand, as a kid, there's always going to be that thing, like, you can't tell mom and dad, you have to keep it a secret, you got to figure it out yourself or something. Which leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you, going back to when you said how people cross the line.
Well, really quick,
Yeah,
can I
yeah,
just touch on I want to touch on something.
yeah.
I think that it's so important, just what you just said. And like, of course, when that happened to me too, where I thought my parents would say that they're here for me and stuff like that. But really, like, you have to show them, like that is really being that example. I think is the anomaly. Like, you being there, you showing up, you putting down your phone in the other room, right? If that's a distraction for a lot of people. Like, get it out of the way so you can give them that love and that undivided attention, because that's just what kids need. Kids need that in their life. They need the quality time. That could be just an hour. That hour, if it's fully focused on them, could completely transform, you know, their thoughts about your guys' relationship. And then, like, setting expectations, right? Like, if you are super busy and you might work a ton, you could show your kid your schedule and be like, look, I got 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock is your time, is your time that you can have. And like, I've shown my 5-year-old that, and then he understands, like, oh, okay, this is why dad can't play during this time period, because he's working and there's calls or whatever's on his calendar. And it's like, but when I'm with him, like, I'm with them. Like, I am not anywhere else. There's nowhere else I should be, because that's my kids. That's what my job and my role as a father is, to guide them through life and help them. And so I need to be able to give my undivided attention, because nothing is more important. I mean, just in my mind, right? My wife is the most important, and then my family. And so if I'm putting whatever it is on my phone above that, or it could be there's so many other distractions, right? But it's that example and showing up, dude, that matters. I was talking to a kid the other day, and he was like, I can't remember any of the lessons that my coach taught me, but I can remember that my coach showed up to every single one of my events ever in my life. And so it's like, that's just proof. Like, I've literally goosebumps, because that was for me, my family, my great grandpa and great grandma showed up to every single sporting event I ever had. And they're two of my tattoos on my body, because they meant that much to me. They didn't need to say nothing, but they showed up, right? And they showed that support. And I think we've got away from, like, just the natural, authentic support, like, that is, dude, of showing up for people. I mean, it really is, like, selfless. You love them. You're taking time out of your day. Like, the time is the only thing in our life we can't get back. And you're showing up, like, but you're really showing up, right? You're not there. You're not at a sporting event. You're not on your phone. Like, you're there. You're there. You're actively present. And sorry, I just wanted to touch on that, because you had brought that point up.
No, no, I agree with you on that. I used to be a really bad workaholic, and I was always worried about just making sure I had money because of worst case this, and emergency that. And because of it, I always ended up missing a lot of stuff when it came to my kids, especially when it came to like school events. Like, it was always the little things that I looked at. Oh, it's always next year. But then the more time goes on, like, I'd be at work and I'd be missing these events of building gingerbread houses, or field day, and like little things like that I remember as a kid my parents would be there. You know what I mean? And it's just things like that I compare. Maybe I didn't have the perfect childhood, but at the end of the day, I remember, it's like you said, it's that feeling of just knowing someone's there for you, and just being present. regardless of what it is. Because there's times that, you know, my son, me and his mother are split, so, you know, we don't live with each other, but I go over there to spend time with him, and he'll just call me in his room to watch him play Fortnite. And he's just having the time of his life, just there watching me, whether he's winning or losing or whatever, just showing me this show. And it's just the fact that I'm there with him, you
Yeah.
know. And it's those things that I think about when I was young. And I remember when I used to be at an assembly as a kid, thinking my parents weren't going to show up, and I see my mom or my dad or even both of them, and just get so excited, like, yo, someone showed up for me. Like, I'm not the main singer, and my voice sucks, and I don't even remember the words to the song. But you know what? They're here. So
Yeah.
I totally get what you mean by that, and I do think that does play a major role in it, because it's like you said, I don't remember. It's the little things like the song or what the occasions were, but I can tell you I remember the feeling and those little events that I had with my parents growing up when they showed up, even if it was just for like 10 minutes or so. But it made my day as a kid, you know, compared to if they wouldn't have went, I would have felt lousy seeing everyone else have people show up, you know. So I do get what you mean by that. Um, the thing that I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned before how everyone was crossing the line, and how, you know, you really got to think about how fortunate you were, how grateful you were, in the sense that you were one of the people, or the only person that didn't cross that line with everybody else. What do you think are a few things that you had in your life, or people that you had in your life, or things that happened to you, that you say could have been the reason why you didn't cross that line?
Hmm. Um, yeah, probably my family growing up. Like, I had a really, really supportive family. Um, yeah, I played 4 sports basically my whole life, and I can't even remember one game that my dad missed or my mom missed. And then great grandparents. My great grandparents, my great grandma was in a jazzy, dude. She drove around in little things you couldn't even walk. She was there every event that she could be until she was too old or was in another state. And I think that just helped me be who I am today. Like, just show up for people. Like, it takes one text message to a friend to say, "Hey, listen, I appreciate you so much in my life because of this, this, this." Like, that could literally change somebody's week. It could change somebody's life. And that's like the simplest thing that you can do. Like, my parents and grandparents didn't have that back in the day, right? Like, they couldn't just text someone that they love, that they appreciate them. And so they had to show it, right? They had no other choice. And so, yeah, probably my parents and my great grandparents and a lot of my family was just, they were just always there, man. And like, that made me want to work harder. Like, that instilled a work ethic in myself that I wanted to show up better for them. And it wasn't for anybody else but them. Like, I wanted to be the best version of myself for them. And yeah, man, like, I mean, some of the teens that I work with, I go to their football games or I go to whatever their sporting events. I was just talking with my wife about going to a baseball game next week for one of the kids I work with. Um, and yeah, like, is it easy? No, I mean, I have 3 toddlers. Like, it's not easy to go to a baseball game, but that could just mean everything to that kid. And so if I'm able to do that right now, like, that's valuable for someone else's life. And giving, like, I just realized a long time ago, I heard the phrase givers gain. And I just think it's just like the best thing ever, man. Like, I don't like, if you give with no expectations, it's just a better life. Like, and we're only here for a short time. Like, like, if I'm gone tomorrow, would I be saying like that I would have wished I went to that baseball game? You know what I mean? Like, we have no idea how long we have, and we're so committed to like all these things that aren't actual moments. Like, yeah, it's just so probably my family, man, my parents and my family, and yeah, it's a big deal. It was a big deal for me for sure.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I can really see how that basically kept you grounded and inspired to keep going, like you said, especially like get down to your grandparents. That's just crazy. You know, you would think like after a certain age you'd be like, you know what, let me just stay home for this
Yeah.
one or something like that. But it's crazy when you have a family bond like that. It's rare. It's rare to see households like that nowadays, you know. But what are some other things that you have going on right now with your personal life that you feel is keeping you fueled and motivated to keep the hype foundation moving forward, or that really has you focused to the point? Because it's like, there's so much negativity and everything going on in the world. What do you think is something that keeps hope alive for you, that the positivity is going to overcome all of that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, it's God. Like, I'm super involved in my church. The Bible is actually the only physical book I read. Um, that's just helped me like through this journey, man. It's been basically 10 months of just pure darkness. Like, it's been the hardest thing I've probably ever done. It's not even debatable. Like, it has been the hardest thing. And this last 5 weeks, we have seen some light and we're on the right track. And, you know, one thing that has really happened over these last 5 weeks that I can say that's been so powerful is that, like, for the first time, I can say that this is going to work and it's not just me believing in it. And, being naturally positive, being someone that's very optimistic, like I could keep going delusionally and just keep pushing, even if it doesn't work out. But I know at this point, like, we've made the right moves and we're building the right foundation to help as many kids as we can. But I'd probably say like my church and really surrounding myself with the right people. Um, has just allowed me to be even stronger and more powerful and spread my energy. Like I feel like I believe that my gift is my energy I've been given. Like, a lot of people say that I have high energy, and I'm like, wait till you meet me in person. Like, you have no idea. Like, I am this every day. And I want everybody to feel that. Like, I want somehow to give that to people. And it's elevated even more through gratitude. Like, I, I'm just like grateful for every single opportunity, every single minute detail, because it's just such a gift. And to be able to give that energy to people, man, is exactly why I think I'm here and why I think we're meant to be in community. And if I can help anybody and inspire them to do anything better in their life, like, dude, I mean, that's everything to me. I don't ever want any amount of money. I don't ever need any level of fame or physical things. Like, I just want to help people. I guess I just want to help people see how dope they are. Like, we're all so dope. Like, that's just the bottom line. We're all one of ones. We're all this unique person that was created to have a gift, a specific thing. And yeah, like, dude, I'm just like hard on the shoulder. Like, I'll tell you pretty much anything about my life. And I like, very rarely do I have something I'm going to hold back. And I think it's a superpower. Like, I literally think vulnerability is a superpower. And have I been hurt? 100%, dude. I've been hurt so many times. It's not even funny, but I could either be judged on one hand or judged on the other. And I'd rather be judged being myself and being this person that hopefully can help somebody, get through a day, like get through a day better and be happier, because happiness is everything, man. Like, we have a lot of people that go through life that aren't happy. And that just sucks, dude, because it really is a gift, like, to be alive.
No, I agree with you. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that I wasn't really grateful for everything that life had to offer. And it took a lot of negative things and like you said, a lot of dark places to really start seeing the light and really start understanding that what I had was all that I needed, and everything I needed to be the person I knew I had to be was right there in front of me. There was no I was just overthinking things. I made things way too complicated because of the fact that I was comparing myself to others, and really none of the other stuff matters. Everything is just a distraction. It's really about who you are, how you feel about yourself, if you can live with the decisions that you made, and if you could keep moving forward. That's all it is, being the best you so that you can help the next person do the same for themselves. And I just feel that, as much as it's like you're saying, man, especially when you believe in God and everything, like there's nothing that really seems like it's impossible, and there should never be anything that makes it seem like it's impossible. If you stay really devoted and focused and you have good intentions, I feel like anything can happen. What I wanted to ask you regarding that, you're starting something, you're building something. You mentioned earlier it's like building community. what are some things that you feel are important when it comes to, like, let's say someone else wants to do something like this, maybe not on a huge scale, but they just want to focus on their school or their job or their household, like, like we mentioned earlier. What are some things that you think start to build a good foundation to make that for people, as far as, creating a community to let other people know, like, listen, we have a goal, we want to make the world a better place, or we just want to just make positivity louder? What do you think are some things that really everyone should focus on when it comes to that are important?
Yeah, so I think it starts with being rooted in the right thing, and I think it has to be genuine. I think it has to be genuine, it has to be authentic, because you can't fake something like this, right? Like, it's not easy to spread positivity in such a negative world. It's not easy to be grateful. I wrote in a gratitude journal for 5 years, and it took me that long to realize how much gratitude I needed to be actually grateful, like you were saying, for the things that we already have in our life. And yeah, I think from the two biggest things, man, I would say it's just to be genuine and be authentic, because like you said, at the end of the day, dude, I'm the one that lays my head on the pillow. So like, if I'm not operating at a good headspace, like, how am I supposed to help anybody in my life? Especially if I have kids and a wife, like, or if I'm not operating good, I'm not going to be able to help them. That's just the realest thing. It's just what it is. And so when you're genuine and authentic, like, yeah, like, you're going to get judged, but you're going to get judged either way. Like, either way, what you do, you're going to get judged. And this is something I've really been talking to teenagers about. It's like, I get it. Like, I was a teen too. I was a kid. I was in college. Like, I get, like, social stuff. I understand that. But like, you are going to get judged regardless if you're yourself or if you're not yourself. So you might as well be yourself, because either way, there's going to be judgment. And so, yeah, the road to being yourself at the beginning might be harder, but the freedom after you get through that first couple of roadblocks is like, I I don't even know how to describe it. It's unbelievable. Like, I have nothing to, that's why I'm so vulnerable, because I have nothing to hide. Like, this is who I am. And if, like, you don't like it, that's fine. Like, I still have love for you, but like, I'm just gonna share from my heart. And that's just genuine and authentic. And that's more powerful because it's not common these days. So it's like, you're almost setting yourself apart. Like, this is who I am. And to say to somebody like, I appreciate any feedback you would give me, but this is exactly who I am. And obviously, you have to have a level of self-awareness involved in that. But like, at the general basis, you have to be genuine and authentic, or else life is just going to be hard. Like, life will just be harder because you're faking it.
What do you think? Because I know I have an issue with this, which is why I'm asking, and I'm pretty sure many other people do. Online, everyone just says be yourself, put it out there, let people accept it. Do you think there's steps to getting to that point, or do you think it's literally just straight from the get, just 100% full throttle, take it or leave it type situation? You get what I'm saying? Like, especially whether you're doing it on social media to make content and express who you are, let people know what you're doing, or whether you're doing it to someone personally in your family, or a coworker, or friends, family, whatever. Do you think that there's like a certain steps to build up to the thing where you're like, listen, like, this is 100% who I am? Or do you think you just straight up like, look, we're cutting the shit right here and now, like, this is what's gonna happen, and from this day forward, I'm never gonna repeat myself again? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, so like, I think, I wish it was the second thing, right? I wish it was just be yourself every day. Like, I mean, that would be incredible. I don't think that's rare, right? Like, I'm not just this way. Like, I didn't just become this way overnight, right? Like, like I said in my gratitude journal, like, I wrote in it for 5 years. There was times that I was, really angry and stuff. And so I had to work at it, and I had to constantly work at it, and I had to show up, and I had to show up in an honest way. And yeah, I think it is a work in progress. And I think one of the most powerful things that I learned as a dad was just like, I can't judge myself. Like, I just literally can't. Like, I can be realistic about what I'm doing, and be, okay, how do I get better? But like, there's just moments where you're gonna fail. And so it's like, okay, well, tomorrow will be a new day, and this is what I'm gonna do to be better at this specific thing that I might have failed at today. And so I think it's a work in progress, man. And I think as life goes on, you get into different phases of, Okay, what am I as a dad? Like, what is a genuine dad? What do I want to be as a dad? And I need to live that. And that's, I think a lot of it is trial and error, but still being yourself, and then being around the right people. There's been so many relationships like that me and my wife not have ended, but we just don't, prioritize or hang out with certain people because it's just not like who we want to be or who we are. Really, like I've told my wife so many times, like, if she gets a new friend or something, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, this is not who we are. We can't just be surrounded by this because if you are acting like this, that's not who you are. And so that's not easy, right? But it's just better. Like, I don't really know what to say. Like, and that could be family, man. There's family that like I've had to cut out and like that's happened. And do I wish I could have had a relationship with them? Yeah, but like, as long as I'm upfront with, hey, this is how we're living our life, and like, especially raising kids, like this is how we're raising our kids, and we would love for you to be a part of this. But I think it's a work in progress. I don't think it's just like an overnight thing. I think it can be. I think if you make that shift in your mind, it's a reframing of a situation. Like, at the end of the day, dude, like, why spend any time thinking about what anybody thinks about you? Like, it's not necessarily bad, but it's just like, we just got one life, dude. Like, we got one, like, that's it. Like, I don't want to sit here and think about what Sally thinks of me, especially when I haven't even had a conversation with Sally. Like, I don't even know if it's real, like, or it's over a text or something. Like, we get lost a lot of times in texting, or bro, I voice text a lot of my friends because I don't want to just text them. Like, there's so
Yeah.
many ways that you could take a text out of context. Even with
Yeah.
my parents, dude, I've taken a text out of context. It's like, nah, I'm just going to voice text you so you can hear my voice, so you can hear exactly where I'm coming from. And I actually like love that. But yeah, I think it's a work in progress, but it also could be just a shift, man. Like, you got to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to believe you know who you are deep down, but then you got to believe it and you got to live it. And then once you start living it, like, yeah, there's obviously bumps in the road always in life, no matter what. You could be literally, you could be the most faithful person in the world. There's still bumps in the road, but when you're genuinely yourself, it's just better.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it gives people more of a freedom. They don't have to overthink. They don't have to worry about this fake persona that they have to keep up, and I agree with you on that. In a perfect world, yeah, it's like you said, if you can just go out and do it right away, but it's true. It does take some time, and there's steps to it
Yeah.
to do it properly, in the sense where, people need to respect boundaries and things like that.
Yeah.
So I
And we
agree.
go and we go out into life, and like, this goes back to when I was talking about the kids and how we kind of don't want kids to fail. And it's like, dude, we have to fail. We have to experience things to be able to then differentiate things in our brain of like, okay, look, oh wow, I had to get hurt by this person to know that this isn't the specific type of friend that I want, or the characteristics that this person brings. Like, yeah, this sucked. And I did love this person, but they just did some whack stuff. I had to experience that. Like, that has to happen to grow as a person. And so it's like, yeah, the world is scary. Like, I don't like yeah, like, you have kids, I have kids. Like, it's a scary place. There was just a shooting down the street of my house. I live in like the arguably the safest part of Las Vegas. But it's like, my kids have to be able to experience life because I experienced life, and that's how I grew and learned different things. And then you ask people that are important to you their feedback on a certain experience. And that's like, what life is living through those experiences, and that's how you grow into even the person that you are.
True, I agree with you. I do. Um, what I wanted to ask next is there anything that you've done so far with the foundation, any events that you've held, or anything that you're working on right now, that you feel is going to help bring more awareness, more attention to what you have going on, or help attract more people to come see what you have happening right now, and make your message more clear and loud across, whether it's the internet or whether it's word of mouth? Like, what is it that you're working on right now? What have you done that you feel really helped boost what you have going on and fuel the fire?
Right now what we're doing is just directly reaching out to people that we want to be, we want that already support the foundation that we want to have on this special initiative we're doing. But other than that, really, we haven't thrown any special events. We're targeting April for an event, potentially May and June. We're goal is to do a lot of summer stuff. If we can secure a building to do like summer camps, that's a big goal. But right now, really, what we're doing is focusing on our curriculum, which is called Gratitude Growth, which is curriculum based learning. And it's focused on creating a culture of gratitude and also creating a daily gratitude practice for these kids. So we're working with 165 students. We're on week 5 right now. We're going 12 weeks. And at the end of 12 weeks, we're really just hoping that not only will we have kids just truly transformed through gratitude, but really have strong testimonials so we can take that all over the country and take the curriculum and go everywhere with it and start teaching anybody. I mean, we want to be in schools, we want to be in churches, we want to be in rec centers, sports programs. I talked to a sports person this earlier today. It was an incredible conversation. They have a bunch of athletes they work with. I think it would be perfect for a bunch of athletes. So really getting that curriculum out, which then will lead to having a physical facility where we have events, where we can have all kinds of stuff, man. I think a physical facility where we can have guest speakers come in, we can cultivate that culture, throw events. I think that's going to be absolutely huge, especially for, my local community, but just for everybody as far as like the content and showing that off and showing that community, and then hopefully expand that, all over the country would be the dream.
And being that you're, like you said, you're trying to go into different things, whether it's community or in the schools, and trying to set up like these programs and stuff, are there any like obstacles that you've come across that have slowed you down, or that you felt were gonna really stop your momentum? Or has there not really been anything really slowing you down as far as reaching out, connecting to people? Or do you think that there's something that would help you make it a lot more easier to really get more involved, or to just basically give people that or have people give you the opportunity, to actually show you what you can do, or give you examples of how the programs could be, or you get what I'm saying? Like when you go to a school or when you try to work with someone, is there anything that comes up that makes it seem like, okay, maybe this isn't a good idea, or maybe this isn't going to happen, or
No, I've had no pushback. And really, like, we already have teachers that want us in their schools in the fall. And really, this first gratitude growth program, getting the pilot done in April and having that case study results. I mean, really the goal is kind of just to be undeniable and to go into schools and be like, look, we had 30 to 50% increases in these things in these kids, gratitude, resilience, all these things. They're answering these questions. Like, we want to bring it to your school. And kind of the whole approach I've taken with a lot of things that I do is kind of being undeniable. Like, what can I do to set us up for the most success, to be in the most places? And so, no, I haven't had no real pushback. I would love to get government funding to be able to provide this even more places. I think it's going to start with selling it to schools, which schools have the budget for it. But if we get like super big government funding, we could take it so many places and offer it for free, which then there would be no barrier. There'd be no way that I mean, I can't see that they would say no, because most kids need, like, nope, most kids need this. They need gratitude. And like, so if you have positive results, I don't know what they could say that would be negative towards it. Like, I don't know what their pushback would be other than like taking time away from class. But most class periods in high school vary from like an hour to like an hour and a half sometimes, depending on the school. There are some classes that are like 55 minutes. But the course is only 40 minutes and it only needs to be done once a week. And so I think it's not only an investment in the students, but like it is valuable for these kids for sure. And there's definitely scenarios where I could go in and like do an assembly, but like I don't I don't really want to do that. I want to be like in the dirt. Like I want to be in a small group of kids, 30 kids, where we work with them hands on. And obviously, like I'm training the teacher. The teacher will be training the class. But I think that's where the most growth comes. I could give the best speech ever in front of 5,000 kids, and there might be 3 kids that actually take something away from that. It's just the reality of what it is. You know, and so there's all different kinds of things, but I have had no pushback as far as like oh, you're doing a curriculum on gratitude, is most of the time they're pretty excited about it, which is super cool. Like I'm super grateful to have that opportunity. And I did, sales for 9 years. So I love selling stuff, but I love selling stuff that I'm passionate about way more. And that's kind of just how I want to bring that. I want to bring that energy. I want to bring that passion. I want to bring that purpose with the results. Like, hey, here's this. Here's what we do. Here's the results that are, hopefully astounding in April.
And what are the age groups or the grade levels that you guys mostly focus on when you're trying to pitch these programs, or basically what do you think is the most best age or group to focus on when you're trying to start on introducing them into gratitude, whether it's in the school system or whether it's at home? What do you think is the proper age?
I mean, if we're talking like outside of my programs, 3. Like you could start, like I talked to my kids about gratitude when they were 3. I'd ask them what they were grateful for 3 things at night. And yeah, that could be chicken nuggets, TV, and mom. But like you're building a solid foundation for them to understand like the concept of it, right? Like no 3-year-old probably is going to really understand what gratitude means, but you're getting them to start practice it at such a young age. And now where they just know, like my 5-year-old, my 5.5-year-old knows, my 3.5-year-old knows what gratitude is. And now my 2-year-old is being around that, right? So now his influence is them directly. But as far as our school program, really our focus is like 13 to 18 high school students. Um, I'm thinking about developing something for middle school. Middle school is a tough age. There's a lot going on in middle school, a lot of hormones, a lot of changes. It's very difficult to get middle schoolers to focus on something like a gratitude course. So I would love one day to have that. I just think right now we're really focused on 13 to 18. But as a parent, I mean, you start telling your kids young what you're grateful for, or what they're grateful for, and you participate as well. 3 things that I'm grateful for, right? Lead by example. And so, but right now we're really focused on 13 to 18, and I think that could even transition into 18 to 24. But 13 to 18 is our focus.
Okay, I hear you. And what are some things that people can do to help support you and what you have going on, or any of the events that you have coming up? Like, where can they go not only to get more information, but also to spread awareness, to retweet videos and share stuff?
Yeah, so the hypedfoundation.org is our website. So that's HIPED. Um, and there's stuff about our initiatives on there. There's places to donate. Our social media handles are on there. My Twitter is at Hyped Foundation. That's probably our biggest platform. I also have a YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. Um, and just, yeah, sharing our posts, DMing me to get involved in even a deeper way if you want to, or learn more about it. I have no problem hopping on a call with anybody. I would love to educate people on what we're doing even more. We're revamping our website even more, adding more stuff to it. And yeah, I have a pinned post on my Twitter that's the most important for sure. It's kind of a video of our last 5 weeks of our story, because it's just really, really powerful. And the results that we're having, are just crazy, almost too good to be true right now. And we're just focused on continuing that authentic, ethical way to show this impact, because we're really focused on making real impact. Like, even if that's only 1,000 kids, like if that 1,000 kids are really impacted, they'll go help the next 1,000 kids. So yeah, I would say spread our message. If you found inspiration and you want to reach out, you can reach out. And if not, you can tell someone about us. I think word of mouth is one of the most powerful things that is just a way to spread anything. And so, yeah, I would say that those are really the ways to help.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time, man, and all the information you shared. If there's anything I could do in the future for any events that you have coming up, please let me know. Don't be afraid to just send me links in the inbox. I'll retweet them, I'll post them, I'll shout them out on anything that I'm doing live, pre-recorded, whatever. I love what you're doing. I feel that we share a moral compass. And I really appreciate what you're doing for kids, from one parent to many others. I really think that this is something that not only kids can benefit from, but just everyone in general, period. It's something that if you instill it to them as they're young, it improves over time and it's something they grow up with and they'll pass it down, or it's just going to be like second nature, and other people are just, it's going to be like nothing, you know, and it'll be a thing that they'll wonder why it wasn't like this all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you taking the time and energy to put it towards other people and making sure other people are okay, and you know, just focusing on how they feel and their emotions and mental health and just everything that I feel a lot of people tend to ignore nowadays. So I really want to say thank you for that.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. Thank you for the support. Thank you for offering your support. I really appreciate it. I'm just grateful every day, man. Grateful to be able to share this message. Grateful to be able to help any kids. And yeah, if anybody wants to get involved, reach out to me because I would love any help. I'm not someone that's prideful. I know this is going to take a lot of people to do this mission. And at the end of the day, we're just here to help kids.
I hear you, man. So thank you very much, Dominic. Have a
Yep.
great night. Everyone who came in and showed some love and tuned in, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And just make sure that if you want to get in contact with Dominic and know more about the Hype Foundation, I'll have all the contact information, social media information in the description below from wherever you're listening to this or watching. And as always, I love you guys. Stay safe. Peace.